What's going on? This is Ryan with Automatic Comics, and up next we have got a huge unboxing here. We have got 3 boxes, just 4 books in here. Total value somewhere around $30,000. So there's some big books as part of this. 2 new keeper books, 1 book that I sent off to CGC. Now I know I said I wasn't doing any CGC submissions right now, as I'm kind of waiting to see what goes on with their cases. But this one I sent out in August of last year, well before that scam and everything. So finally got it back. There was an issue, so I had to resend it back in to have the case addressed, or something with the case addressed. Finally got that all back. Let's check these books out. Some awesome books. Alright, so before we get started, please remember to hit that like button and hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see more content like this. So, like I said, this is a pretty big unboxing here. Value somewhere around $30,000, 4 books. Some pretty cool stuff, 2 new keepers, and this one right here. Just got back from CGC. Hadn't done a CGC submission in a while, and this one I actually sent out a pretty long time ago, and I've shown it on the channel before. I actually had, the reason it took so long is that I had to have conservation work done on it first. So I had conservation work done on it, and that was done by Sanderson Studios. And then it went off to CGC, and then they made a mistake on the label, which of course always sucks, because then I had to send it back in. Now, it didn't cost me anything, you know, they give you the free label and all that. It's just a mechanical on the return. But they had a mistake on the label, so I'd send that back in. Took like another, I don't know, 5 weeks or something like that. Finally got it back again, and I checked the image online. Label is all correct now, so no issues there. This is a pretty cool book. I'm definitely happy to get this one here. Now this one isn't. It's probably not going to be a keeper. This isn't one of the ones that I had said was a keeper. I don't know yet. It's a cool book. I'm a little torn on it because this is one of the earlier books I've ever had. I like this cover, but let's show this book here. We have got Superman #2. And I really like this cover for Superman #2. Some people don't like it. I think some people think it's maybe a little plain. I really like this cover. I think it's a cool cover. And you can see there's some pretty serious staining on it. Sanderson Studios, he said he did everything he could to try to get that staining out. You can also see that this is a conserved label. So this is a married cover. And so it was a detached cover. And the staple holes didn't align, all that kind of thing. I knew it was a married cover when I bought it. I bought it on eBay, and it was reported as a married cover. It was definitely a married cover. And that was actually the issue with the label, is that when I got it back, it did not say married cover. And so I sent it back to them. I said, hey, you know, I'm like, I'd put a note in when I sent it off. So there should have been something that identified it when it was sent in as a married cover, because it is very difficult once you start doing things like leaf casting, because that's what was done to this. You can see this extra paper basically that's added on the book where there's brittleness, chipping, fragileness, all that kind of stuff. And so you can see on the notes here it says conservation includes leaf casting to cover and interior reinforced, cover married. And so yeah, we had this leaf casting done to it. That helps with the structural stability of the book, fills in all these little creases, or not creases, but tears and gaps and all that kind of thing. But yeah, there's a big stain on it. It's a 1.5 conserved label. It is complete. It's just that it has a cover from a different copy of Superman #2. But 1939, there are not a lot of books from the 30s, from before 1940, where it's superhero books. There are very few, so pretty cool to have this one. Superman 1 is obviously like one of the really big books, but I do really like this cover. I like the red and yellow. I like the, just the general appearance of this book. But yeah, conserved grade. That's, some people might wonder why I didn't get the green label, because of the married cover. The conserved label overrides the green label, so you get this little gray bar up at the top. And I've talked about that before, where it can be confusing for people. You know, where I have actually, when I've been going through books quickly, pricing them on like Heritage, that kind of thing, I have missed conserved labels before where I thought they were universal just because you see the blue and you think blue, you know, that kind of thing, and that you think it's universal. But always make sure to check that, you know, that top part where it says conserved, and it gives the full description. It says it's married cover in the notes, that kind of thing. But yeah, Superman #2, awesome book. Pretty cool to have this one. All right, I'm gonna do this one next. Then I'm gonna move on to the keepers. So this book, I mean, I'm actually kind of surprised I bought it. This is definitely not a keeper. I can respect this book for what it is, but I do not like the cover of this book. I have talked about it a number of times. It's just a little too gross. It's a little too gross for me. It's a little too real. But there's a reason I picked up this copy, and I'll talk about that a little bit. I mean, I felt like the price was right for it. I mean, it definitely wasn't cheap, but I felt like the price was right for it. But there's something especially unique about this copy, at least from what I can tell. So, get all this bubble wrap off of there.
A few moments later.
All right, now you'll recognize this one probably if you're a regular watcher of the channel, because I've talked about this book a number of times and how I think it is just the most disturbing cover from the Golden Age. And this is Lawbreaker Suspense Stories #11. And if you're not familiar with this one, you've got this super creepy guy on the cover there where he's saying, "I know you're a mute, Miss Kimberly, but even if you could yell, the people downstairs couldn't call the police. You see, I already cut all their tongues out." And he is holding a handful of tongues and a knife, and he's just a super creepy looking guy. And so, I mean, just pretty disturbing cover. It's like there's some covers where it just gets a little too real, you know, and one's like this, super disturbing cover. It's a 5.0, which is a nice grade for this. But even though I've said before, like, for me personally, I don't really care about page quality, but this is a White Pages copy. And I went through Go Collect. So, and this is before I picked this one up, because there was something that was just I wanted to see how unique this was. I went through Go Collect, every single sale I checked of this book. So at least all the public sales, the images from those public sales, because Go Collect has all the images. There has not been one White Pages copy that has ever sold publicly. And now I don't know if this is the only one. I don't know if there's maybe a couple others that are out there, but there's not a lot of copies of this book on the census anyway. And this may be the only White Pages, or it's one of the few copies that actually have White Pages. So even though I personally, you know, it's not a big deal to me with White Pages, I do understand that for some people that is a very important thing. And so I felt like that was pretty unique with this copy, that we actually had a White Pages copy of this book. And so, yeah, colors look real great on it. One of the things I have really realized with this book is that there's definitely like a printer crease that's on almost all of them. It's this, they almost all have this like little streak right here. No matter, that one that I talked about where there was like the 7.5 or the 8.0 or whatever it was that sold, it had that too. Like they almost all seem to have this little white mark right here. It's very similar to Famous Funnies number, which one is it? 214, I think, where almost every copy, there are a couple that don't, but almost every copy has a printer crease like right here. And so there's certain books that just seems like a lot of them have a very similar like printer type of flaw or defect. And this one seems to, almost every copy has that. Some, it's more obvious than others. It's just something I've noticed on these books. But Lawbreakers, Suspense Stories, number 11, 5.0, White Pages copy, super creepy cover. So if you want what I think is like the creepiest cover that is out there, or just most disturbing cover from the Golden Age, I think it's this one. And there are more violent covers. They're totally more violent covers, but just the reality of this one, just like some type of like creepy serial killer guy like on the cover, is just this one creeps me out a little more than the other books that are out there, the really violent covers. All right, so that's number 2. Now for this one. This is 2 new keeper books for me. And picked these ones up off of Heritage during that big Golden Age collection or Golden Age sale that they had. They actually double boxed these. And these ones took a little while to ship. Just because the cost was high enough that it takes them a little while to validate your payments and everything like that. But yeah, so these are some pretty cool books. I'm definitely happy with picking these two books up. All right, I'm just gonna let's see if I need to cut to get all this tape off again.
2,000 years later.
All right, so one of these is actually, so I had a book that was already on my keeper list that I cut from my keeper list, and now it's back on with this copy because this is a higher grade copy. This one's really nice. It is a really nice looking book. The other one is also, that's a really nice looking book, and is like the number 2, at least in my opinion, like the number 2 book in this run behind the number 1, which I already have, which is already on my keeper list. All right, so we'll start with this one here. So this is Phantom Lady number 23. So Phantom Lady 17 is the really big book from this run. I mean, all of them are pretty expensive. Phantom Lady 17 is extremely expensive. That's one that I added last year. I bought a raw copy, got it graded. This one is a 5.5, a very nice copy of this book. This one isn't a Matt Baker. So 17 is a Baker cover, and some people think that it's a mix of artists that may have worked on that cover, but 17 is generally recognized as a Baker cover, which is part of why that one is so expensive. Then this one is a Jack Kamen cover. At least it's not identified here, but I think this one is generally considered to be a Jack Kamen cover. But you know, you've got the Phantom Lady, Good Girl Art, bondage type covers, very similar actually to issue 17. Very similar content to issue 17, and part of the reason why this book is so expensive, especially, you know, for the era, 1949. I mean, pretty risque content for that time period. But Phantom Lady, number 23, 5.5. And again, big thing with this one, this is a White Pages copy as well. So also a White Pages copy of this book from 1949, which with Fox Feature Syndicate, who did this title, they are generally known for using lower quality materials in their books. And that's why a lot of times you'll actually have, or not a lot, but some of the times you'll have Pink Pages copies where they used cheaper paper that was actually pink, like a light shade of pink. I showed it with a issue of Corliss Archer in a previous video that I had raw that I got graded, and I showed the interior and how it was actually pink paper. So getting something like White Pages for these is pretty tough, is pretty uncommon. So Phantom Lady number 23, incredible looking copy, you know, 5.5, White Pages, amazing colors on this copy. Yeah, real happy with this one. Great looking book, and it's very square. I've talked about with this publisher before, a lot of their books, they use this almost like a kind of like a barber's pole, you know, kind of design on the side there. And they have the title in it and that kind of thing. They do that with a lot of their titles, but it's similar to the Marvel Comics Group banner that's on the top in the Bronze Age for Marvel, where it really shows if the book isn't square. And this one, you can tell, is very square, looks really good. So it's that one. Then the last one here, this is the upgrade that is now being added back onto my keeper list. This one is not White Pages. This one is off-white White Pages. But this is Famous Funnies number 213 in a 6.0. So I've talked about this run a lot. This is done by Frank Frazetta. He did issues 209 through 216. And so all of those are very desirable books. This issue, 213, is definitely the most desirable in the run. It is by far the most expensive. My personal favorite cover is actually 214. It's got the red planet in the background. And like for me, I kind of missed out on a really nice copy. And so it kind of, that's happened to me a couple times where I've missed out on the ability to upgrade a copy, and it kind of turned me off on the copy that I had. So I ended up selling my copy of 214. But this time I got very nice copy of this one. I mean, a 6.0 is a nice grade for this book. And I mean, really great colors on this copy, like the deep purples and everything. And at least from what I've been told, this character was the basis for Chewbacca in Star Wars. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but I have been told that this character on the cover was the original basis for Chewbacca in Star Wars. So pretty cool little interesting fact there. Again, not 100% sure about that, just something I've been told. But yeah, Famous Funnies, number 213, just considered the by many people their favorite issue of the run. And at first, for me, it was one I didn't like as much, but over time, it has really grown on me. Like, and because I think part of it is too, I like purple backgrounds and covers. It's just, you don't see it very often. I think it looks really cool on the cover. And this cover has really grown on me, and I do really, really like this cover now. But yeah, Famous Funnies 213, 6.0, off-white to white pages, Frank Frazetta cover. Just amazing presenting copy, amazing colors on this one. So yeah, some pretty awesome books, 4 books, pretty pricey books all combined. Again, we got this Phantom Lady 23.55 white pages, classic Jack Kamen cover. Then the Lawbreaker Suspense Stories number 11, just one of the grossest, creepiest covers of all time. 5.0, again, white pages. And like I said, I wasn't able to find any other copies, at least publicly sold. Someone may have one, but I couldn't find one. And then last, but definitely not least, we've got this Superman number 2, conserved 1.5, 1939. I mean, awesome book. I mean, yeah, it's got stains. Who cares? Superman number 2. So yeah, very excited about all of these. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you saw stuff that you maybe haven't seen before or don't see very often. If you did enjoy this, you want to see some other videos, I've got some other great books hopefully coming in soon. Please hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell. I got more videos over here. If you'd like to watch some of my other videos, subscription button is right here. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel, I'd really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video.